Hello, this is Pavel. Welcome to Biofilm News, your source for latest news in the world of healthcare, pharmaceutical industry, and life science research. Please subscribe and spread the word. Hit the notification bell to stay up to date. Let's get started. Today I'd like to talk about a recent article that I have just published in geneonline.news, which talks about repurposed drugs that are currently undergoing clinical trials for COVID-19 treatment. And this is the article that I've written. As you can see here, this was a very interesting article to actually write about because the scope of the treatment options that are currently available. But before we want to do that, we want to understand what kind of disease progression patients experience during COVID-19. There could be patients that have zero symptoms or asymptomatic, or experiencing mild symptoms, or moderate to severe symptoms that result in different complications such as lower oxygen levels, pneumonia, and others, requiring hospitalization. Now, it's very important to understand that depending on the severity of COVID-19 disease progression, the level of treatment options would vary. And for asymptomatic patients, no treatment options are really required. While for mild, moderate, and severe, the treatment options would vary significantly. The first drug I wanted to talk about has been in the news lately, and that's called remdesivir by Gilead. Now, this drug has actually been developed to combat Ebola originally and is a broad-spectrum antiviral drug. It is very important to understand that all of this research that I've done for this article was done over the last couple of weeks. New data actually supports the use of remdesivir as a standard of care in the United States. It's just recently been granted emergency use authorization by Food and Drug Administration. Therefore, this article was outdated almost immediately when it was published. Nonetheless, there's a lot of other different clinical trials that are using different types of drugs from other companies that aim to combat this disease. When it comes to remdesivir, the reason why it was accepted because recent clinical trials have actually found that there is a 31% faster recovery rate when patients were administered that drug as compared to the placebo. In addition, there was a suggested survival benefit of about 2 to 3%. Other clinical trials with remdesivir are also underway for more moderate cases, and it remains to be seen whether it will be approved for treatment of moderate COVID-19 patients as well, because now it has been only approved for treatment of severe patients in severe cases. Other types of drugs that have been announced to undergo clinical trials and have been under much media scrutiny are hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine. These drugs are anti-malaria drugs as well as used in treatment of other anti-inflammatory diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. There is a number of clinical trials that these drugs are involved in, and it remains to be seen what kind of clinical benefit they would show. Other drugs that I've come across while doing this research were Avigan from Fujifilm, which is similar in its molecular mechanism of action to remdesivir and is manufactured exclusively by Fujifilm, and it remains to be seen what kind of benefit this drug would have, especially in comparison to remdesivir, which again has very similar mechanism of action. In case of COVID-19, one important complication that people with severe symptoms experience are the cytokine storm and this resulting lung inflammation. And obviously the disease severity is very tight to this type of inflammatory response. Therefore, there is a huge interest among many companies to try and treat the symptoms of this disease instead of necessarily underlying viral infection. Specifically, treatments are being explored that actually target interleukin-6 receptor, which is a promising inhibitory target because of its ability to bind interleukin. This is a major cytokine which is responsible for stimulation of acute phase responses and various immune reactions. So there's a number of monoclonal antibodies that aim to target this receptor, such as Actemra from Roche, Kevzara from Sanofi, and Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, as well as Avastin. Now, Avastin is also a monoclonal antibody, but it has a different mechanism of action. It actually targets vascular endothelial growth factor A, which, based on the previous evidence, has been shown to have elevated levels in patients with COVID-19. And may contribute to this acute state of respiratory disease and increase in vascular permeability and resulting pulmonary edema. Another particular drug that I came across that I wanted to mention in this article actually is Jakafi, which is a kinase inhibitor. And again, it's all of these drugs that I've just listed that are not hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine or remdesivir are actually targeting the symptoms of this disease and not necessarily the viral infection. So I encourage you to read this article and take a look at the sources that I've listed here, and I look forward to reading your comments about this article and what you guys think about COVID-19 and the treatment options available. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.